Edward, where they are having that press conference right now at the police station on the arrest of Gregory Lewis.
Make the corner going on to Edward Street, which is a short dead-end street that ends at the Hudson River. The vehicle continued into the river, and the Fort Edward Police, Fire, and EMS were dispatched to a motor vehicle accident involving the vehicle being in the river. There was also a report through the dispatcher that the male operator of the vehicle was in possession of a firearm as he exited the vehicle. The police department arrived on the scene and interviewed a male who had interacted with the subject that was operating the vehicle. The male, who was a resident of the street and went down to help the driver, stated that the male had taken a silver pistol out and pointed it in his face. The male then fled on foot in a southerly direction along the riverbank. The police officers on scene established a perimeter around the area, and a K-9 was requested to the scene. Washington County Sheriff's Office K-9 Naz and his handler, Deputy Scott Stark, started a track at the scene a short time later and came upon the suspect. The suspect stated to the officer that he had dropped the gun and was taken into custody without incident. Once the subject was taken into custody, he was brought back to the police department for processing. Further investigation found that the suspect was 26-year-old Gregory J. Lewis, who has been the subject of a nationwide manhunt as an alleged serial rapist. Lewis is wanted on arrest warrants in multiple states for robbery, rape, kidnapping, theft, as well as other crimes. The vehicle he was driving and the pistol that he possessed were both stolen during one of the incidents, and he had been taking plates off of similar vehicles and putting them on the vehicle that he was operating in an attempt to mask the vehicle from being found by law enforcement. His crime spree was reported to have started in Massachusetts, where he sexually assaulted a 13-year-old. He then moved through North Carolina and spanned to the upper Midwest and out to Oregon. It appears as though Lewis was targeting victims through an online escort service. The investigation at this time is ongoing, but it does not appear that Lewis was targeting anyone in this local area, and that he was on the run and just trying to keep moving to remote areas ahead of the building number of law enforcement that were trying to apprehend him. Lewis this morning is a fugitive from justice and remanded to the Washington County Jail pending extradition proceedings. Lewis is also facing numerous charges in the village of Fort Edward as a result of the incident. Victims that were from other areas who have come forward have all stated that Lewis brandished the gun to them and made threats to them that if they came forward to police that he would come back after them. Because of this, we believe it's possible that there may be other victims out there that have not come forward at this time.
So any idea as to why he was in the New York area?
It appears as though he was just randomly driving, just trying to stay, as low key as he could to try to avoid, high urban areas where there was more law enforcement.
Do we know how long he was in this area for?
It appears as though he was just here last night. Once he was spotted and crashed his vehicle, it was about 20 minutes before he was apprehended.
So you say Massachusetts State Police are on their way here. Any word of extradition, the topics of that, and what's going on with that right now?
There's numerous felony charges that he'll be facing here as well. Those will be filed in the court later on today. The extradition proceedings obviously will take place between the District Attorney's Office here in Washington County and the prosecutors in the states that he's wanted in. I believe there's 8 states that there's currently charges pending in.
And other than the wanted fugitive charge here, what else is he facing in Fort Edward?
Felony criminal possession of a weapon in the 2nd degree, criminal possession of stolen property for the vehicle, which is a felony, reckless endangerment in the 1st degree, which is a felony, criminal possession of stolen property being a firearm, which is a felony, criminal mischief in the 3rd degree, which is a felony, and menacing in the 2nd degree, which is an A misdemeanor.
I know that you said that there could possibly be other victims that may come forward that happen out of fear, but is there a count as to how many victims he at this point?
I don't have that information.
Do we know if he was in contact? I mean, you said that he didn't have any victims specifically in this area, but was he in contact with anybody in this area?
At this point, the investigation hasn't led us to believe that he had contact. It appears as though he was just traveling through and encountered the state police officer, which caused for him to speed away and then suffer the accident.
Would you say anybody in this area was in danger at any point with him being?
Obviously, this is a very dangerous man. Anywhere that he is, danger is going to be present.
With the vehicle he was driving, did that match the description he has been driving committing all these crimes in the different states?
The vehicle and the weapon both match descriptions that have been given by past victims.
And can you just
robbing the victims as he went. The allegations that were that he had sexually assaulted the victims as well as stole cell phones and money from them.
So that's how you think that they were continuing on with this spree, so to speak?
I couldn't speak to the actual nature of that, just like I said, the incidents were reported as that he had robbed the victims and taken money from them.
Where did the trooper actually spot him? Was it in Hudson Falls or in town Fort Edward?
It was on Route 4 south of the village in the town of Fort Edward.
Or south of the village?
Correct. The vehicle was traveling northbound.
He said no.
Yes, sir.
Do we know where he was headed?
He just stated that he was driving around just trying to avoid law enforcement.
And can you just again go over the witness that saw him go into the river and what happened after he came out of the car?
The witness stated that he was in his yard. He heard the vehicle coming at a high rate of speed. He then saw the vehicle go by his house at a fast pace and then heard a crash and then a splash. He then walked down to the area of the river bank and saw the vehicle out in the river. He stated that he was going to try to go into the river but saw the male subject coming out towards him.
And you've been listening live to the press conference at Fort Edward Police Headquarters, where they're talking about the arrest of Gregory Lewis, one of Massachusetts' most wanted fugitives. Obviously, a national manhunt as well because of his crimes in several states.
Yeah, and ending in Fort Edward in the very early hours.